Welcome. This is Radioactive Banana, and Merry Christmas to you. I hope you're having a really great holiday, and all your family is coming to visit, and you're going to play games and run outside and have a good time, because that boosts your immune system. That makes you feel good. Before I get started on the intel agencies, I just want to let you know that I am lying about everything I say. Or this is my hypothesis, or conspiracy, or theory, whatever you'd like to say. Just remember that today I'm lying to you. Now, let's get started. The intelligence agencies, the secret intelligence agencies within intelligence agencies, run the world for the elite. And who are the elite? The Vatican, the Bank of International Settlements, and all the royals. These are the top dogs in the world, and they have secret intelligence agencies that are doing their bidding. And even if the rest of their intelligence agency is doing something else, they could be doing completely opposite. And who we're going to talk about is MI5, MI6, and their secret Section M. So Section M was a secret group that was doing things that could be opposite of MI5 and MI6. And MI5 is like the FBI, and MI6 is like the CIA. But let's start with this first book, and this is Agent M, The Lives and Spies of MI5's Maxwell Knight by Henry Hemming. And if I open up the book and look at the prologue, not the prologue, at the author's note, here's what it says. This book is based on recently declassified MI5 files, conversations with former officers from MI5 and MI6, and the relative of Maxwell Knight and the agents he ran, as well as diaries, memoirs, newspaper reports, and contemporary accounts. And so what we get from this book is that this is a real agency. This isn't make-up. This isn't make-believe. We have a book from Henry Hemming that now has documents that show that this secret intelligence agency existed. And he was working under Sir George McGill, under MI5. And he had said that he was a terrifying interviewer, and he was also an industrialist and a Freemason. And what we learn from this book is that Maxwell Knight accrued a whole bunch of agents. He brought on the first female agent, and their job was to infiltrate and spy on the Fascist Party and the Communist Party in the early 1920s, 1930s. So they infiltrated these groups and tried to find out what they were doing, and in doing so, they stopped them from getting various secrets or moving money around. And then right before World War II, all the people that they had spied on, the fascists and communists, were all arrested. Okay, so this book is great in telling all these different agent stories, and you realize that this Section M really exists because there are documents that Henry Hemming has presented. Now let's take a look at the second book by Christopher Crichton called OPJB, which stands for Operation James Bond, the last great secret of the Second World War. And what this is about is that Christopher Crichton and Ian Fleming worked under MI6, and they worked under Desmond Morton in secret Section M. And Ian Fleming would go on to be the writer of James Bond. And I believe he actually was a James Bond. But in this book, they get Martin Bormann out of Berlin on the ending days of World War II when Russia goes in to bomb Berlin. And this is the day when Hitler kills himself. And of all the books I've read about either Bormann being killed or Bormann getting out in some way to get to South America, this book I would believe the most because of all I'm learning about these secret intelligence agencies. But here's what's important about Operation James Bond, and this is on page 10, and it talks about Desmond Morton, and it says he was frequently in action and won a military cross, a Cross de Guerre, and a mention in dispatches. After the war, he was officially second to the foreign officer, and in fact, he entered the secret intelligence services, and in the 1930s he formed the Industrial Intelligence Center, an allegedly commercial body, which was in reality a cover for his major preoccupation. This was the founding and the running of the M section for Morton, an ultra-secret intelligence organization financed and protected outside the government control by successive monarchs, George V, Edward VIII, and George VI. Now, this is very interesting. It's an ultra-secret intelligence organization financed and protected outside of government control. And then we go to another page, page 42, and here is a paragraph that reads, "One of the M section's greatest strengths was that it reported only to the Prime Minister on the authority of the King. Its operations were not controlled or limited by an outside body, nor was its security placed at risk by having information about its activities passed unnecessarily to civil servants. Other organizations were less fortunate. MI6, the Secret Intelligence Service, answered to the civil servants of the Foreign Office, and MI5, responsible for home security, had the disabling millstone of the Home Office round its neck. The M section, in contrast, kept well clear of everyone else. Like its director, it was frugal, modest, independent, and totally secret. As far as anyone outside it was concerned, it did not exist." So in Operation James Bond, they rescue Martin Bormann. They help him get out of Germany. And why would that be? Because Martin Bormann was Hitler's right-hand man. He was the finance man. He was the man who set up 790 shell corporations in Portugal so that they could continue on with the Fourth Reich. And this book is very helpful for understanding this secret intelligence agency. But let's go on to this book, The Rise of the Fourth Reich. And in The Rise of the Fourth Reich, I'm going to read to you from page 16. Whoops. No, sorry. I'm going to read to you from page 20. It said, members of the Thule Society encouraged a Munich locksmith and toolmaker named Anton Drexler to bring workers into the political process. The unassuming Drexler founded the Deutsche Arbeiter Party, or the German Workers' Party, which was guided to prominence by covert aid from conservative elements within industry and the military. Hitler, unable to make a living as an artist, turned to earning extra money by serving as an army intelligence agent, reporting to a Captain Karl Mayer. One day I received orders from my headquarters to find out what was behind an apparently political society which, under the name of German Workers' Party, intended to hold a meeting. I was to go there and look at the society and to report upon it, Hitler recalled in Mein Kampf. Arriving at the Sternekaubrau beer hall, he was not overtly impressed. I met with about 20 to 25 people, chiefly from among the lower walks of life, wrote Hitler. However, the young military agent stood and astonished the small gathering by arguing against a proposal that Bavaria break ties with Prussia. Impressed with the nationalistic and anti-Semitic views of the fledgling party, the military authorities allowed Hitler to join and began funding the party's work. He became the party's 7th registered member. Hitler's work in the party was initially supported by the funds from Captain Mayer's Army Intelligence Unit and the dedicated anti-communists and occultists of the Thule Society. Funding was passed through the publisher of occult literature, Dietrich Eckart, whom Hitler called the spiritual founder of National Socialism. And we have Eckhart Tolle now, don't we? This is Dietrich Eckhart back then, the spiritual guide. Okay, Eckhart was soon introducing the new member to the Reich social circles in Munich and his intellectual friends in the Thule Society. The editors of Time Life book noted Dietrich Eckhart took over the editor of Volksches Beobachter. All right, and you end up seeing that these intelligence agencies end up funding this Workers' Party and then end up funding Hitler within this party. So you have the secret intelligence agencies funding the head of communist and socialist parties, as well as in these other books, you see these secret intelligence agencies are infiltrating these communist and fascist party. So not only are they creating the leaders of these parties, but then they're going after them and spying on them. That's very interesting. Now, another thing that I can add on to this is in this story, The Hidden Real Truth About Benghazi, he also makes a mention that in Libya there was a secret intelligence agency that was working there against the government and against Gaddafi, but working with these other high-end, security agencies. Now let's take a look at Britannica and its definition or its information on MI6. And it says MI6, formerly Secret Intelligence Service, British government agency responsible for the collection, analysis, and appropriate dissemination of foreign intelligence. MI6 also charged with the conduct of espionage activities outside British territories. It has existed in various forms since the establishment of a secret service in 1569 by Sir Francis Walsingham, who became the Secretary of State to Queen Elizabeth. So the Secretary of State becomes the person in charge of the Secret Service. It was constituted in its present form in 1912 by Commander Sir Mansfield Cumming as part of Britain's attempt to coordinate intelligence activities prior to the outbreak of World War I. In the 30s and 40s, it was considered the most effective intelligence service in the world. Following the rise and power of Adolf Hitler in Germany, MI6 conducted espionage operations in Europe, Latin America, and much of Asia. So the MI6 is doing espionage against Adolf Hitler, and at the same time, in Operation James Bond, the secret section is helping Martin Bormann because he is a Rothschild's protege. And actually, Schmidt from IG Farben helped him, taught him all about shell corporations. But Martin Bormann ended up being, the right-hand man of Hitler. And it's pretty amazing that you can see MI6 is supposed to be going against Adolf Hitler, but then this secret section M is helping the money man, Martin Bormann. They help accrue and protect the elite's property and assets. That's one of the things they do. Now, so that's an interesting thought that I found, that it was from 1569 that England has had these secret service agencies. But here's another interesting thing. There's a professor, Desmond Morton, and he was a historian at McGill University, and he died in 2019. Now remember McGill in the 1920s and 30s, but it was spelled MacGill. He was the head of MI5 and also Section M. And Desmond Morton, this guy is not the Section M Desmond Morton, this is a professor, but Desmond Morton was the head of MI6. So here we are using these names from history. And Desmond Morton is a professor of history. And one of the things he says is he's a historian that has written 40 books. And he says he was careful not to claim that phrase of his own, but wrote that my version of history have been powerfully influenced by my own experience as a student, soldier, and writer, and especially as an unashamed political activist and an academic administrator. My versions of history. So this Desmond Morton, who's written 40 history books, may possibly be a propaganda writer of history. But isn't that interesting? At McGill University, we have a Desmond Morton, the two names going back to Section M. And what we also find out about McGill University that's in Montreal, if you were to go and read MK Ultra documents by Fritz Springmeier, he mentions that McGill University is a university in which they are doing MK Ultra studies. And so I think people should look farther than just the CIA in the United States for MK Ultra, that all these other countries were also working on MK Ultra. But this is my short little video on intelligence agencies. Just wanted to show you the books where I had been collecting information. And I will continue to do a couple more videos on intelligence. This is Radioactive Banana. Thanks for stopping by. I just want to remind you that I'm a conspiracy theorist. I make things up, even though I read articles and read books. But YouTube doesn't want the truth. And YouTube wants to kick people off their platform that are telling you the truth. So it makes it easier if I just tell you I'm a liar. This is Radioactive Banana, conspiracy theorist, conjecture, and liar. Have a great, great Christmas. This is Radioactive Banana, signing out.